think of Sony and their games. I think of these titles like that, this and that. And I think there may be some doubts whether we're going to get this translated over to the PlayStation VR 2. So today I'm going to give you 4 reasons why I think finally the PSVR 2 will be able to bring these AAA titles home. Let's dive in. No disrespect intended here, but before, developers had to work with the likes of the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation VR 1. And now they get to work with that bad boy. And this opportunity applies to both third-party companies just as much as Sony's first-party dev companies such as Naughty Dog, for example. And let's be real, no one wants to create games whether they are for VR or not for a dead console with no capabilities or no selling possibilities. Now there is a real opportunity to bring these PC VR type experiences to the consumer PlayStation 5 player base. Meaning, these AAA games get the translation into the VR world in the best way possible. Or for better or worse, as of course it is dependent on the team behind the titles, you at least have the best tools available to channel this from a vision into a real VR immersive world. This is made possible through the powerful graphics and 4K resolution, the deep immersion possibilities through the haptic feedback, the sense controller, which is all connected to the PlayStation 5, which facilitates this. But don't take just my word for this. Rise and Call of the Mountain devs Firesprite have already shown their love for the PSVR 2 capabilities, saying that the headset itself is amazing and has almost leapt 2 generations of VR technology. And there's an extra benefit for those AAA developers who are creating games for the PlayStation VR 2, as the PlayStation VR 2 is a brand new canvas. Think about BR games like Fortnite or Resident Evil and what that did for horror. There was a chance, an opportunity for a developer or publisher to cement themselves as the king of the hill in their chosen VR domain. Whether it is a story-driven game like God of War VR or a battle royale game like Fortnite VR or League of Legends for MOBAs, I'm talking about changing the fucking landscape here. It shows that if you have the right formula and the right demographic, then that AAA game could be the one leading its particular VR domain on one of the fastest selling consoles of all time. You could pose the question, what is stopping other AAA games coming into other consoles and using the same formula? Those formulas are pretty saturated right now. VR and the PlayStation VR 2 is very niche and still small. There's a big chance for you to jump in there and make it your own. That is one hell of an opportunity. And let's not forget that there's already a consumer base there with PlayStation 5s. All you got to do is create the hype and spread the word. If 5 recognises, I'm sure Sony and its developers have. Although I did not play the PlayStation VR 1 that much, looking back on it, I remember my first experience didn't feel that user friendly. And that was down to the Move controllers, which were essentially wands with point and click options. It didn't feel intuitive and there was no analog sticks. You could use the PlayStation 4 controller and its analog sticks to play the game, but that kind of defeats the point. And I appreciate that for some games it might have been fine and with particular scenarios which were not too action focused, but it was difficult to manage when you've had to do 2 things at once like shoot and move. This restriction itself, it doesn't really breathe confidence into developers who are trying to create AAA games. How do you truly translate what those games are known for, what they represent, what the fan base wants through a restrictive control scheme? It's like having 2 buttons on the NES and trying to play PUBG. So because of this, maybe this is why the PlayStation VR 1 did not get much AAA support. I don't blame them, to be fair. I'd rather wait for a real, true VR experience on a better, more polished console as opposed to rushing and getting something out. Maybe this is what happened with Killzone VR, which was initially meant to be developed for the PlayStation VR 1 but was stopped short to eventually, and hopefully I might add, come to the PlayStation VR 2. So are all these AAA titles going to come to the PSVR 2 now because of analog sticks? One could hope, but I'll hold back on that hoping right now. But it does make sense that devs might have thought, for shooters maybe. But for other more ambitious ideas, they might have second guessed whether the PlayStation VR 1 offers the support and the control schemes to truly translate these VR experiences. There are loads of titles that I think missed out on coming out on the PlayStation VR 1 just because the tech was not there yet. Well, here's some good news. It's here now. I would imagine that when a new game comes out, the developers behind it want every person to get the same experience. But guess what? This can be difficult with VR, especially when taking into consideration PCs. The better the PC, the better the VR experience. That is hard to quantify and hard to review. Yeah, Blade and Sorcery is great, but I have this particular PC set up, so if you don't have that PC, then you might not have the same experience. And this also applies whether you have the Quest 2, Pico 4 or the Meta Quest Pro and use them just as a standalone. Or maybe you might think, wow, there are a lot of games on Steam. Okay, fine. Let me go and get a gaming PC then. Why is it so expensive? With the PlayStation VR 2, there's no need to know what gaming PC the person has, or their setup, or what they're wearing. All the experiences created by the dev for the PlayStation VR 2 will be translated to the user as intended. Game changing and one headset to rule them all. It means we are all getting a universal experience, which might be a subconscious benefit. It creates more chatter. It doesn't matter if Gary Get Involved has a high-end PC or Jenny from the Block has a Pico 4. If a game is good, we will know, and that means this. Social media channels like Twitter and gaming review sites like IGN and GameSpot will be sharing feedback which is all similar. This is a symphony for success and money, which I'm sure is what AAA titles feed off and what gives AAA developers the reason, the sign-off, the everything to bring these AAA titles to the VR world. Having a platform which is appealing for devs to try and create these true VR experiences is what both new VR users and veterans have been crying out for. And crucially, for new VR users, these AAA titles can trap the masses. Don't be shy. Sony has an army of developers which can create these AAA titles. So, question to you guys, why would they not want to give the PlayStation VR 2 a chance? Really interested to hear what you guys think, as I know what I went through today is not based on pure facts, but I hope I've provided some logic in terms of why I think this could become a reality. Plus, who doesn't like a bit of hopium and hype? Anyway, that's me finished. If you found this content useful and interesting, let me know with a little thumbs up. And if this is your first time watching my content, I'm Techlo and I bring VR news on a weekly basis. And most recently, I've been super interested in the PlayStation VR 2. So, if you're looking to get the PlayStation VR 2 or you've pre-ordered one already, or you just want to hear me waffle, hit that sub button and I'll see everyone next video.